New laws in California, New York, and Illinois make it harder for you to hire freelancers, like virtual assistants, photographers, or graphic designers. If you don't follow these new hiring laws, you could be liable for up to $15,000 per violation. In this video, I'm going to show you how to properly hire a freelancer, an independent contractor, or a gig worker. I'm going to give you a free checklist which has a step-by-step approach to properly hiring a freelancer, and I'm going to show you how not to be sued under these new hiring laws. All right, let's hit this. Hey creator, I'm Ian Corzine, your social media lawyer. On this channel, I show you how to protect your social media accounts and how to properly do business online. I first heard about the new freelancer hiring laws in 2018. Then the California Supreme Court had this decision called Dynamex versus Superior Court, and it had all the gig worker companies like Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash up in arms. Then in 2019, the California legislature wrote a bill called AB5. This had the effect of making that Dynamex ruling permanent. The California legislature later codified AB5 at California Labor Code section 2750.3 for all you nerds out there. But the real scary thing is similar laws are coming up in all the states in America, like New Jersey, New York, Illinois, Massachusetts, and there's word that a new federal bill will have similar provisions to AB5. So the bottom line is that wherever you live at some point in time, you're going to have to face compliance with these new independent contractor hiring laws. So what do these new hiring laws do? Well, basically, if you want to hire a legit freelancer or independent contractor, then you have to be able to prove three things. First, you do not control or direct this worker's work. Two, the worker's work must be outside of your business. And three, the work that the worker does must be of an independently established trade. So what I think about when I hear an independently established trade is like a construction contractor, an accountant, or a real estate agent. If you can't prove this, then that person you hired, even if you used a contract, is not legally your independent contractor or your freelancer. She is actually your employee. So for example, if you hired a video editor and you required that editor to wear a shirt with your logo on it and to do all the editing at your studios, then under this test, that worker is not an independent contractor, she is your employee. Why does that matter? Well, if this editor is your employee, then you owe this person meal and rest periods, vacation time, sick leave, contributions to Medicare, and also Social Security. And if you don't give this person, who is deemed your employee and not your independent contractor, then later on in time, this worker and the government can sue you for up to $15,000 per violation of employee laws. You could be subject to these civil penalties if you do not properly hire your freelancer, independent contractor, or gig worker. Just as a side note, I once was a lawyer for a family that hired a nanny. The nanny was paid like $15 an hour and worked for 8 hours a day, about 4 days a week, and there was a contract between the family and the nanny. Well, after about 5 years, the nanny got frustrated with the job and there was some sort of blow up and the nanny quit. Within a year after the nanny quit, she sued the family for employee misclassification. She argued that due to the nature of her job, she was required to report to the family home and she was under the control and direction of the family. She was not an independent contractor. She was actually a legal employee and was entitled to employee benefits like overtime and sick leave. The bottom line is the family had to pay a large settlement to this nanny and it was not covered by insurance. Generally, employment-related matters are not covered by insurance, so this came out of the family's resources. I don't want this to happen to you, and that's why I'm making this video, to teach you how to properly hire independent contractors, freelancers, gig workers, so that you don't get sued like this family got sued. So how do you not get sued under these new hiring laws? Well, we're gonna get to that in a moment. First, I wanna discuss the pros and cons, the arguments for and against these new hiring laws. people who are in favor of AB5 and these new hiring laws that could be coming to a state near you real soon, they argue that workers need to be protected by the law. They don't want to be leveraged by employers who try to get them qualified as independent contractors so they don't have to pay overtime or other employee benefits. These workers need to be protected by employment discrimination laws and sexual harassment laws. These laws are not applicable to independent contractors and freelancers, and so people who argue that AB5 and these new hiring laws say that the employees, the workers, they need to be protected by these laws, and if they aren't, then there's going to be a serious problem in the system. On the other side, employers, people who regularly hire independent contractors, are really frustrated with AB5 and the other laws. They say that their labor costs are going to go up to about 30% per year, which is going to result in the cost of goods and services to you and I also going up 30% a year. Many freelancers or gig workers are really frustrated with AB5 and these new hiring laws. They say that the laws reduce their employment flexibility. A lot of them like to work on their own terms, in their own homes, let's say, and do work on a piecemeal basis. They don't want to be employees that have to report to a 9-to-5 job at a certain workplace. They also want to continue to work in California. Recently, Vox and Rev.com announced that they will no longer be hiring independent contractors, freelancers, gig workers for their companies. The reason why? They're afraid that they're going to be sued for that $15,000 per violation, so they're just not going to do business with Californians. They're going to go to other states that have less stringent hiring laws or go overseas. I mean, think about it. If you run an online marketing business that uses lots of photos to post to social media, you need to hire a photographer. Well, if you want to hire a photographer, oftentimes you don't want that photographer on staff. You want to hire out on a contract basis. Well, would you go to a California photographer and risk potential sanctions and civil penalties by hiring that person? Or would you go to a Nevada photographer and give the gig to that person and not face those risks of AB5? I think the answer is pretty clear. You're going to go to a different state to be able to get your independent contractor. Freelancers also don't like the new hiring laws because of the work for hire exception. You know, under copyright law, if you're an employee under the direction of an employer and you're doing creative work, let's say you're doing a graphic design or doing cartoons or something, well, then the employer has all the copyrights, all the ownership rights to the work, the creative work that you do. However, if you're an independent contractor, and let's say you're doing drawing of cartoons, then you could negotiate in your contract with the hirer so that you're going to retain some of those copyrights. Maybe the business will only use your cartoon for a year, and then you get to use the cartoon later in time. Whenever I'm getting into a legal subject, I always like to examine what's really going on here. And in this particular case with AB5 and the federal law that may be coming down the pipe, I think that the real reason why we're seeing these laws is because government representatives want more in payroll taxes. What's really happening is hirers of freelancers and independent contractors are getting away with not paying large payroll taxes on a pay period basis by going to independent contractors, and the government doesn't like this. They want their taxes, and I think this is why these new stringent hiring laws are going to go into place throughout America. So there's a lot of debate about AB5 and these new hiring laws. I want to know where you stand. Are you a person who really wants to protect the worker and so you like these new hiring laws? Or are you a gig worker or an independent contractor who's adversely affected by these new laws? Let me know in the comment section below. I want to hear you and hear your opinions. All right, now let's talk about how not to be sued under these new freelancer hiring laws. First, you need to brainstorm all the independent contractors and freelancers you use in your business on a yearly basis. Are these people virtual assistants, copywriters, photographers, videographers, audio engineers? Put it all in a list so you know what are your potential hires for the next year. The second thing to do is to contact a lawyer. Now, I know that can be intimidating. Some of you don't want to deal with lawyers. It's overly serious. A lot of times it costs a lot of money. I understand, I see it all the time. I'm a lawyer and I face it even with myself and my own personal finances. But I have to say, it doesn't always have to cost a lot of money. It doesn't always have to be an unpleasant experience. There are ways that you can use a lawyer to help you avoid being sued later on in time, and it doesn't break the bank. So what you could do is call a lawyer and on a limited engagement, request that that lawyer draft you an independent contractor freelancer agreement that you can customize for your business. You're only out the amount of time it takes for that lawyer to draft that contract, and you can make it clear with the lawyer that you're not going to pay for any more time. You just want this independent contractor agreement drafted and used in your business. The other thing you could do is go to lawyer websites or legal document assistant websites and be able to find templates for independent contractor contracts. If you go to iancorzine.com, you can find in my templates library independent contractor agreements that you can download. Third, you can get my free How to Hire a Freelancer checklist by texting Freelancer to the number right below. If you text Freelancer to this number, you can get my free checklist, which has all the rules that you need to follow so that one, you have a happy freelancer or independent contractor, and two, you don't get sued for violation of labor law. Finally, you need to learn more about consumer privacy laws and how they affect your online business. Did you know that laws were passed in 2019 that make it important that you change your website? Otherwise, you face other civil penalties and potential damages in a lawsuit if you don't get these changes to your websites done pronto. If you want to learn more about these consumer privacy laws and how they affect your online business, you can watch my video right there. And as always, as you watch, I'm going to be right here and ready to answer your questions about independent contractors on iancorzine.com.